throughout the meeting and give them to my colleague, Ryan Keeler. This way, everyone has a chance to have their voice heard. Also, some people like to, don't necessarily want to be recognized what question they've asked, so it gives you some way to put that question without having to worry about other people saying, and I'm picking on Mary Jean because she's on my trustee. Mary Jean, why'd you ask that question?
You say that to me all the time.
Only when you say, where's the chocolate? So keep that in mind, that again, this is for everyone. And I especially want to welcome our Girl Scouts. They're here today to earn their democracy merit badges. So,
Yeah.
I know we're going to show them how democracy works in a very civil society because that's who we are, right? Okay. I also want to introduce now my colleague, Ryan Keeler. Ryan is a part-time librarian with the Hamden Public Library System. You might know the many hats he wears. He's the one who came up with the idea for the Coffee and Conversation. Thank you very much, Ryan. He's also one of our teachers for our guitar classes. Yes, we teach guitar classes. They're for free, and they're at the Brundage Library. Just another shameless plug for the library there.
I'll clap for that.
Ryan, with that, I'm going to turn the program over to you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Really appreciate it. So I started this coffee hour as kind of a way to get people back after being shut in from COVID and get people interacting. And what I heard from people is they're really most interested in civic engagement. So we're really kind of focusing this coffee hour on giving you an opportunity to talk to the town and town officials and department heads. So this is a great opportunity, and thank you, Mayor, for joining us. I do want to let you know that the exits here, if need be, out here and down the stairs the way you came in. There are restrooms in the family restroom in the children's area, and there are restrooms outside into Thornton Wilder Hall, just so you're aware. And we have upcoming programs. We have a book discussion coming up this Monday. We have story times throughout the week. And I believe we have some other events. We have an art gallery down in the program room. If you haven't been to the program room, when you leave, go down and ask the information desk. The librarians there will direct you to the program room, and you can see the art display there. And actually, we have a movie this afternoon. We're showing Picnic. It's a 1955 film. That's at 2 o'clock in this room. And we have the next coffee hour on the calendar now with Superintendent Highsmith. That will be on January 25th. The flyer is out in the hallway here, and it is live on our website for people to register. And registration is recommended. It's not required. It just gives us a way to gauge attendance. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Garrett.
Great, good morning. So I just want to start by thanking the library, Melissa and Ryan, for putting this together. It's a really wonderful chance for everybody to get to know me a little bit better and get to know what's going on in the town a little better. Thank you to the Girl Scouts for being here. That's really awesome. I went to a Gold Star ceremony a couple weeks ago. It's the highest rank that a Girl Scout can get. And it was just really moving to see how much work goes into this, and so few Girl Scouts achieve this rank. And we have someone from Hamden who's able to do that, so it's really cool. So since we are in the library, I thought I'd start with some improvements that we're making to the library, as well as a really cool program that we have. So the Digital Navigator program is in Hamden Public Library. It started off by just Hamden participating in this. This was a pilot program, really, where the Hamden Library is helping people get digitally connected. So during COVID, when everything moved to the internet, basically, there were a lot of people that left behind. And so the Hamden Public Library and Melissa were really wanting wonderful in making sure that that connection was still something that people could have. And so teaching people how to use email, make doctor's appointments, make DMV appointments, use online banking. These are all things that you can do through the Digital Navigator program. So if that's something that you struggle with, I just encourage you to reach out to the library and get connected. It's free, it's grant funded, and it's really, oh, and you get a device. So they're giving out laptops. So it's really a wonderful way that we can all just make sure that we're connected and we're not leaving people behind. The other improvement that we're making, you probably noticed when you walked in, those slightly hideous planters are getting removed. And what we learned is that they're so strong you could build a house on them. And so we have to cut away the concrete. And the goal here is to make the plaza something that's more usable. So we are going to be putting some picnic table style tables out there, round, so that you can kind of face in. And they'll have, they're really a cool design. They have like a disc above the table that that has solar panels in it, so that you can charge your cell phone, whatever you need to do. And what's so cool about that is that now we can actually bring people together right outside our library. And I'm really excited about making sure that we're thinking very intentional about bringing people together. So this is just one more way we can be in community in places that already exist, but it was hard to really be in community with those planters as they were, because you're sitting there on a little tiny seat that's really designed for probably a 5-year-old, facing out instead of facing in. So that's one of the improvements that we're making here. And so I just wanted to just briefly go through some of the things that are going on. I'm sure you all saw the newsletter that was put on your seat. We have a lot of improvements that we've been making over the years, a lot of grants that we've received. We're doing better financially. We have infrastructure projects that are helping out improve the infrastructure of the town, but also people's lives. A lot of road heating, a lot of sidewalk replacement. We planted a record number of trees this year, 103 trees. So we've got a lot that we're doing, and a lot of these projects are sustainable in nature. So we've replaced some culverts. Let's see, the rain garden at Town Center Park is a really cool project. The rain garden's job is to take a massive amount of water that comes off of Dixwell Avenue as part of the Mill River watershed. And it slows the water down, filters it before it goes into Meadowbrook, which is a co-op that tends to receive a lot of water because it's pretty low elevation. So those are some of the things, and in doing a lot of these sustainable projects, as well as building community, we've gotten an award through Sustainable CT. We are silver certified and now designated as a climate leader. So that's recognition from the state. We've got economic development moving along. We hired a new economic development director, Ayana Winger. She's really cool. If you have the opportunity to meet her, she comes to us from New Rochelle, where she did a lot of work in combining commercial and affordable housing to make it a development that really kind of pays for itself. So we're not making too much of an investment to get all of this moving along, because you can balance the affordable housing with the commercial and make it viable and make sense. We just gave out 900 Thanksgiving meals at the Community Center on Thursday. It hasn't rained here in months. And then it rains on Thursday, and we have people waiting for Thanksgiving meals. But they all came prepared and left with very heavy bags so they could have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And we get a lot of support from police, fire, public works, our CERT team, to make sure that we can do all these really wonderful events for our community. So I just wanted to mention some of those things. We are planning holidays in Hamden, so Silver Bells, Kwanzaa. We're going to do a new event this year for Hanukkah. Usually we light a menorah. This year we're going to have a family night where we play games and sing and have a meal and really learn about Hanukkah. I think this is one of the pieces that I'm really proud of, being able to lead this effort to help people understand each other. I think it helps to reduce that kind of unknown, sometimes leading to hateful feelings that people feel towards one another. Because by learning how we celebrate, how we love, it can really bring us all together. So including some of the cultural events that we have in town is important to me, and I think it really helps us become more neighborly with each other. Let's see what else. So we are finishing up the revaluation that we have to do of all municipal properties. Letters are going to be going out next week, and it will let you know what Tyler Technologies has valued your property at. So we have on our town website, there's a banner that goes across the top of the website at hamden.com, and it'll just say reval. It's kind of pretty, and then you click on it, and it'll take you to the landing page where you can watch the recording of the meeting where we had the reval. There was one last week and one the week before that. It'll give you all the information that you need to be able to understand the letter that's coming in the mail. And one of the more important things that John from Tyler Technologies explained, when you open up this letter, understand that this isn't about what you think your property is worth, it's what you can sell it for. And we had a really hot real estate market, so it's gonna be up there. And I want everyone to understand that goes up, but the mill rate comes down significantly because of that. This is grand list growth that is really good for the town, but also it means it's an opportunity to lower the mill rate significantly. And it's good that our property values are rising, but I know that people are going to think, this is alarming. Please, it says right on the notice, please do not use the current mill rate to calculate what your taxes will be, because that will be wrong. That will be terrifying, okay? So we've also been doing some traffic calming this fall. We put some speed tables on Mather. Slow down when you approach those speed tables. And then we also did something kind of cool on Howard Drive. We put an island in the middle of an unnecessarily wide road. And so the island just takes up some space in the middle, so that now we don't have to pave that space ever again. We also put some wildflowers in there. So what's cool about that is it's just a test. Maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe it turns into weeds and looks like crap. We're just doing it in one spot. We're hoping that it looks beautiful and it's more sustainable because we don't have to mow it all the time. So it's only a test, and hopefully it works out really well, but if it doesn't, we'll just put grass there.
Where is this?
It's on Howard. Howard, on the way to Paradise.
Okay.
And then at Wintergreen and Brook, this is across from Pine Rock Park, intersection was like a Y. And so people would kind of go up on two wheels, speeding through that intersection. And so, we narrowed it so that it's a T intersection. You have to actually slow down to make that turn. And so we're really trying to slow people down and design our roads so that people naturally have to slow down. But what I also want to highlight is that a lot of the work that you see around Hamden is designed in-house by our awesome engineering team and then done by Public Works. And that saves us all money because we don't have to consult with people and have people come in and do this work and charge us a whole ton of money. We have really awesome employees who are, if they don't know how to do the work, they're learning how to do it. And it looks beautiful, they're doing a great job, and I'm really thankful for our really skilled employees. I think that's it for my updates, and so I'm happy to start answering questions.
Okay, so I'm collecting the cards. Again, if you came in a little bit late, just so you know that there's index cards, and I do have extras. You can write your questions down. We'll collect them. This is a way so everybody can ask their questions and participate. My colleague Ryan will read the questions. Anybody else have an index card they want to hand out? Yes? All right, you can also use your index card to keep notes, so you know, right?
I did. Did you use it? No, no, I didn't. Thank you.
All right, I'll do my best to kind of make the topics flow together. Since we just talked a little bit about the speeding issue, so someone asked, how does one get speed bumps or speed tables on our street?
Yeah, so it's going to take us some time, and we are prioritizing areas where we have either schools or a lot of accidents. We just want to make sure that we are prioritizing it correctly so that we're not doing this in a way that is haphazard or unthoughtful, because we have a complete streets policy. That's where we started with our traffic calming efforts. And so you can look at the Town of Hamden's engineering page, so hamden.com, and then follow departments to the engineering page, and on the left-hand side of that screen is all the different projects. So look at Complete Streets, and you can see the Complete Streets policy, along with some of the designs that we have prepared and we'll get to when Public Works has a break in the action. So the Complete Streets policy is a really thoughtful way of making sure that we're looking at our town holistically rather than street by street. Because if we put speed humps or speed tables on one street and then we look at the street next to it and all the traffic diverts over there, we want to look at neighborhoods a little more holistically. So we're doing this, I just talked to our town engineer yesterday in the Newhall neighborhood. He's working on a design for speed tables or speed humps on Newhall, but also considering Holdridge, because the way that the traffic flows is one way, and if people are kind of traveling one way and then up the other way, we want to make sure that we're just looking at the neighborhood as a whole. And so we're also, talking with neighbors in the area about, what's important to them on their street, like parking considerations. And so, where am I going? So, in order to request speed humps, speed tables, traffic calming in general, you can email our town engineer, Stephen White. It's swhite@hamden.com. And they analyze it for traffic calming, and it doesn't always mean speed humps. Sometimes on streets where we have people crossing, maybe it's a raised crosswalk, which is not entirely like a speed hump, but a little bit. Sometimes it's bump outs so that the path crossing the road is narrowed a little bit. maybe increase signage. There are a couple different ways that we can address traffic calming. And so to get on the list, it's a outreach to the town engineer. And I can't remember if there is like a way to apply on the website. I don't think yet, but that's definitely something that we.
Stephen White is in town.
Yeah, Stephen White.
Do we need more than one person on the street if we did a petition?
So,
Yes, we did a petition.
it's,
See my question, because it's school traffic and we have school.
yeah.
Why not?
So it can help to have a petition, and it's also about looking at, how we address, street by street. So, we know that there's a lot of traffic calming that needs to go into place, but we can't put a speed hump on every single street.
Sure.
It has to be done thoughtfully.
And I noticed they moved down. Where they're slowed down in one place, they moved to the next street. That's
Just,
why
and just in the order of keeping things flowing, I'll just read the questions, and if we have time at the end, maybe we can do some follow-ups. Okay, so there's actually a related question about, the, cameras on traffic lights.
Yeah. So we are undergoing vendor selection right now. We developed an ordinance for the traffic cameras. We went out to bid with an RFP, and we are now in vendor selection, which will happen, I believe, the week after Thanksgiving. And then we will go under contract with a vendor. The vendor then assembles data, selects intersections and alongside the town, and then we send that to DOT for approval. DOT has been approving these fairly quickly, and then we can start with installation. So we are moving right along on the red light cameras, which are not just red light cameras, they're also speed cameras. So if you speed up to get through that intersection to avoid the red light, we're gonna get you either way.
I'm sure there's going to be more traffic-related questions, but we're gonna switch it up here, and someone asked, what opportunities are there for students to get involved in the town?
Love that question. We just changed our charter, it's not just, it was 2 years ago. And it allows for students to join commissions as student representatives. So it's for 16 and 17-year-olds, but there are a lot of ways that younger kids can get involved in town. We have summer camps where we have the camp counselors, and we do counselors in training for 15-year-olds. And it's a great way to kind of have a job. We can't pay them because they're too young, but they're learning how to be camp counselors. And it's really great for moving up into the camp counselor position. And I love it when kids come to my office and visit and really make sure that we are interacting with students, giving them a tour of town government, seeing how all the departments are helping move business along or help people. It's really great when kids are involved, and I'm just really glad that we have kids here today to learn about it. Yeah.
And can I put a shameless plug in for the library?
Oh, of course.
The library has a teen advisory board, and that's for people ages 12 through 18 to join and help us develop our teen programs. It meets once a month. It works with our teen librarian, and it really does help guide the direction of how our teen services go. We're also looking for a teen representative for our council. We have one representative right now. We need somebody else to come forward who wants to serve on the library board. Again, you have to be 16 or 17, but if you know somebody, let us know. And if you're not quite 16 or 17 years old, you'll get there. Join the TAB. That's the Teen Advisory Board. It's a great organization. Again, you make the library stronger and better to serve people of your age. Shameless plug. Thank you.
Thank you.
Teens can also participate in VITA, volunteering and tax assistance.
Thank you.
So the next question is regarding the old middle school.
Yep.
And I'm sure there are strong opinions on it, but we don't want this to turn into a debate or anything, so we'll just turn it to you to maybe give an update on.
Sure. So we have a company, BL. We are contracting with them right now. They are investigating the two buildings at the old middle school site. They are, the larger academic building is being demolished. And so they're coming up with a plan for demolition. We know that there's some asbestos in that building, and so we want to make sure that it's just demolished properly, that we are protecting people who live in the neighborhood to make sure that, first of all, like, if there are animals, not great animals in the building, that we're not sending them out into the neighborhoods. We are looking to make sure that as the demolition happens, you have to have a transportation plan for all of the materials that are demolished. You have to have a place where all of these materials go. All of that gets included into the demolition plan. And so BL Companies is putting together that demolition plan for us. They are also looking at the smaller building and coming up with a plan for abatement. This building has not been set on fire and is not in as bad a condition as the other larger building. And so they are investigating the materials in the building and coming up with a remediation and abatement plan. And once that is complete, we will know what we need to do with the building. There might be some walls that have to come down entirely because the materials that are in there are not good, and so we have to take them out. So once all of that abatement plan is taken care of, we have a vendor, an architect, 7 Summits, and they are putting together a plan for a youth center. We need a gym. We need a place where kids can play basketball. We have our recreational leagues. It is very difficult for us to find space for them to practice and hold games. As a town, we do not have a gym. All of our gymnasiums are in schools. And we don't always have access to that. So we need a place where we can have kids play sports. We also think it might be good to have some arts classrooms. Not everybody plays sports, so we want to have things that kids want to see in this building. I have some kids, I know what they like, but I want to hear from a lot of kids about what they want to see in the building. I want to hear from different organizations that work with kids and what they want to see in this building. So we have, we're going to be putting out a survey that helps us to gather some information. We'll hold another meeting about hearing from people about what they want to see in this building. And we are going to make sure that we are gathering as much input from people as is possible so that we put into the building what people want to see, what kids would like to see. We have 60,000 people in this town and we don't have a youth center. And that's not right. We should have a place for kids to go. So that's some of the stuff that we're doing. It's also a really big piece of property. And so in the back, there's a lot of field space. And we also want to hear about what types of fields. We have people who play cricket who have been playing cricket on the back of that lot. And so we just want to hear from a lot of different people. What do you want to see for field space? Now, tennis courts, yes, but you wouldn't believe how many people ask for pickleball. So, so there are a lot of different things that could go into the space that we have there, and we just want to be thoughtful in accommodating what people want to see.
Is there a reason we're not reading the questions? Because I know I'd want mine read if it was. It seems like censorship a little bit.
So I'll tell you, I'm going to go through and I'm going to read the questions, but I am going to frame it nonpartisan. So I can turn the cards over to the mayor after the event, and she can look at them, but I'm going to be as judicious as possible when addressing the question.
Like, this could have been an email then.
Decision made to put the youth center there. How was that?
Well, that's a question for the mayor, and
I'm
we can
asking
get to it.
I'm asking.
We have a lot of people with questions, so I need to get to the other questions first.
You're right, but aren't we on this particular subject? I'm not trying to make, I just have a question. I want to know, because I heard her say,
Let's quickly address it.
I heard you say, Mayor Garrett, I
You're
heard
getting what you want,
let her answer.
I'm gonna answer,
You're
but
getting
I,
what you want. Don't talk to me.
excuse me, I'll answer, but I just don't, I don't think it's necessary.
No, I just want to know how the decision was made.
Heard
That's
the
all I
question.
asked.
Heard the question.
That's all I asked. Don't talk
So-
to me.
So the decision to put a youth center in there, started with the initial concept. The initial concept was to demolish the building that's in really bad condition, the academic building. Leave the foundation and build a community center. And then use the other building and build out more of an arts center. Now, we didn't get enough grant money to do such a large project. The money that we have is about $10 million from ARPA, and it's enough for us to renovate the smaller building. We have a grant from the state of Connecticut to demolish and do the abatement and investigation for all of the two buildings with asbestos and any hazardous materials. So we have that pool of money. We do not have enough money to build on top of the larger foundation where the academic wing is right now. I don't want to enter into a project unless we have the money to do that.
Okay, thank you
So
for your
that's number
response. I
one.
appreciate it. You can go to the
In
next question.
terms of why it's a youth center is because in consideration that we couldn't do everything, this was a priority for us, having space for our youth. And so we are able to renovate the building that has good bones, that has not been set on fire and had water dumped on it to put the fire out. It has good bones, and so we can build on top of that. There are a couple of considerations in making sure that we can build on top of that. First of all, the study that BL Companies is doing, making sure that whatever materials are in there can come out. If you look at any of the schools in Hamden, they've all been remediated and abated because they have all had asbestos and other hazardous materials in them. And our kids are going to these schools because they've been remediated and abated. And so we are going to make sure that the building is safe. It's all supervised by DEEP. And so DEEP is going to make sure that the building's safe. And they would never let us do anything but children in harm's way.
So, the next question is regarding water runoff from town property. And I suppose maybe who would they be in touch with to solve that kind of issue?
So we have, let's talk about the rain garden real quick.
That's my particular runoff.
I know,
That we've met about.
Yes.
So
So let me,
briefly,
so the way that this meeting is being run is so that, I can answer questions and I'm happy to do that, but it's not, the idea is not to have, just one particular, personal issue.
I have a record of communications that I've gone through since
So
my
let me,
husband and I
I would
met
be
with
happy
you
to
and your
answer the
staff.
question.
So I'm gonna suggest that you answer the question, and if you don't completely answer the question, Madam Mayor, would you please make your staff accessible to people
Yes.
after this meeting? The
Absolutely.
library closes at 5 o'clock.
All of my communications have been not addressed, I have not gotten an answer, or have been dismissed since February.
The point of the
I
program here is
understand,
to address.
but I have not been
town-
able to get to her staff,
I
and I've gotten no answers.
This is not gonna be a forum for an individual issue we wanna address.
Nobody's communicated with me, there's been nothing,
I'll answer the question, and I'll answer,
especially from your town engineer.
so, I'm I'm going to give you an example. We have the rain garden, where we have water flowing down Bristol Avenue through town property, and then it goes into Meadowbrook, where people have their own personal property. We can't solve every problem, and water goes where it's going to go. And that's just the truth of the matter.
This has been since the tornado.
How engineering
I've
works.
never had a problem before the tornado. The town has not been a good neighbor. We've had 6 weeks of no rain, and I have water sitting at the edge of my driveway. That was supposed to have been
I
addressed.
understand, and we will work to replace the culvert that runs under your driveway, but we can't go onto your property to do any work.
We've discussed that. It's the town property we need to go on, not mine. It's all on the town
We
property.
don't have access to
All
it.
right, I
Yes, you do.
suggest that we meet after the meeting.
We don't have access on a hill. We don't
There are a
have
lot
access
of
to it.
questions
I'm
to
going
get
on
to,
your
and I don't want people to feel like we aren't getting to their questions, so we're gonna do our best to, move on to the next one. Okay, someone is asking,
Question is still not being answered.
someone is asking, this is very appropriate, is being a mayor hard?
Really? That's a question.
So we have,
Being here is hard. Being here is hard.
I imagine that this question was asked by one of the Girl Scouts who are looking to be civically engaged. And I think it's really good that we set an example for kids, that we don't interrupt, that we listen to each other, that we make sure that we're showing good civic engagement. It is hard. It's hard because you can't make everybody happy. And you have to make difficult decisions. And you have to tell people no. And you have to think about what the best thing to do is, even if it makes people unhappy. And I really like doing this job. I like that I get to help improve the town. I like that I get to work with an amazing team who care deeply about making Hamden a better place to live and care deeply about bringing people together. But it is challenging. It's tough on me, it's tough on my family, and it's worth it, but it is challenging.
You've done a wonderful job.
So, the next question is, this person would like to know the results of the recent testing at Whitney Lake and the plans for cleanup in the future.
Oh boy, so that would rest with the Regional Water Authority. And Lake Whitney is owned by the Regional Water Authority. I don't have access to that information. But if you send me an email,
I'm sure we could address that downstairs at the information desk as well. The librarians there can get you information and get you in contact with the Regional Water Authority. Okay. So why does Hamden continue to allow homeowners to rent to Quinnipiac college students?
so what I can tell you is that it's gotten a lot better. Quinnipiac is forcing more and more students to live on campus. They started with just a freshman class, and then the following year moved to the freshman, sophomore, and then through their junior year. And so we're at a point now where freshmen, sophomores, and juniors all have to live on campus. And the other really great point is that Clipchamp has done a much better job of dealing with student housing. It used to be that you would call the police, and the police would have to go out and deal with student housing. It really wasn't the best fit. And so now Clipchamp is taking more control over any student housing issues. And so I don't have the number in front of me. Now that we all have cell phones, I can remember my kids' phone numbers without doing speed dial. So anyway, we can get you that number for student housing at QU, but it's gone much better. So I understand that, people still have Clipchamp students that live near them, that sometimes there are pretty large houses and they have parties, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's gotten a lot better. And we have contacts with people that you can reach out to make sure that your issues are getting addressed.
But doesn't Hamden have some kind of policy that says neighborhoods like mine can rent to families, not individual? But when I went to the town hall, they said when those students move in at the same time, that's considered a family. How could that be considered a family? That didn't make sense to me.
So a couple of things. First of all,
How can 5 different students in different areas be considered one family?
so they're not exactly, but we can't allow for housing discrimination. So you can't say that students can't live there. You can't say that individuals can't live there. We do have some housing regulations around how many unrelated individuals can live there. But it is very challenging to enforce because a lot of times you only have 4 people on a lease and then they have other people living there. It's incredibly hard to enforce. But because we've seen fewer houses that have students in them, it has gotten better. We're also building out a housing division within planning and zoning. And so we will have more information about, we have a landlord registry program that will be starting soon. This was built out through the last budget, and so we have to hire the people that will run the program. It's being paid for with a landlord registration program. So any home that is not owner occupied would then the landlord would need to register with the town. We can make sure that we have more contact information. It makes it easier to do inspections, like the fire marshal has to inspect houses that are above 3 family. It really allows us to make sure that we are able to enforce housing codes, like housing codes such as making sure that you don't have any kind of infestation or that windows are able to open, that the stairs are in compliance. There are all sorts of housing codes that are really challenging to enforce when you don't have access to information like the landlord's name, and that we're trying to improve the housing stock that we have, make sure that people have safe places to live in, but it can also help us to address some other situations where maybe there are too many people living in a house. But it's important that we do that with care and compassion.
Okay, the next question is, what do you consider your most notable achievement since becoming mayor?
Oh my. It's hard to choose. I guess because what I really like doing is on the financial side. I like working through the budgets. I like finding ways to save money. I like that piece, and so I think that's a pretty good achievement. We've had bond rating increases from all 3 rating agencies. Fitch gave us a double bump. They gave 2 notches of an increase, which is really not something that happens very often. So we looked around to see in the state of Connecticut who else has received a double notch increase from Fitch, and Hartford did, but it was because they were getting bailed out by the state. So it doesn't really happen organically, and so I'm really proud of that. We have drafted new procedures, financial policies and procedures for the first time in 30 years. We're making a lot of improvements to how our government functions, and it's not something that people see every day, but it really helps us to run better and be more successful. So I really like that, but I also really like bringing people together. So like I said before, all the different cultural events that we hold, where we can learn from one another, where we can celebrate together and be in community, that's also really important to me.
All right, so there's a couple, Coach, going through this, there's a couple of people who mentioned this topic, so I wanted to bring it up generally on how Hamden will protect its immigrant residents.
Thank you for asking that. So, we have state law in Connecticut that prevents police departments from working with ICE. And so that is our state law. And there was a situation in Danbury, I think, where the police department was working with ICE, and they got in trouble for it. So it's state law and it's enforced. And so I think that is really excellent. And I have reiterated to our Hamden police chief and deputy police chief that we are not going to be working with immigration. I think it's important that we be really intentional about how we are working with our immigrant communities, that we are going to our immigrant communities, that we are making sure that we are being protective in the way that we organize. So, you know, I think that there is a lot that we can do to make sure that schools are safe places, that churches are safe places, that our community center is a safe place. And so I know that our legislative council is putting together a resolution that helps to really state these pieces, and I think that's awesome.
So another question here is, what is your plan to make up the cash flow of the lost revenue, the $5 million that was included in the budget?
So that's not lost revenue. So this is for traffic cameras, and I was talking about those earlier. We are doing vendor selection right now. So when we put this in the budget, we always talked about the timeline, that the timeline was going to take us into the beginning of the fiscal year, and we are working with that. So we know that we're not going to see any kind of revenue until the final quarter of the year, and it's not lost revenue. It's just not. We don't have it yet because the timeline is always going to take us into the final quarter of the fiscal year.
Thank you. There's another question here about recycling and composting programs. I know we talked a little bit about that at coffee hour with Joe DeRisi, but perhaps you could comment on that.
Sure. So obviously we have recycling blue bins that people participate in. I think there are a couple of important things to remember. I toured the facility where they do all of the recycling. It's on Murphy Road. Gosh, I can't remember what town that's in right now, but so we went through it, and they have all these conveyor belts and stairs, and you get to see the recyclables run through all this stuff, and then they divide up to separate the recycling. We have what's called single stream recycling, where we put it all into the blue bin, and then it gets separated by these conveyor belts. So there are a couple things that people should know. First of all, the lithium-ion batteries that say that they're recyclable do not go in your blue bin because they make the place catch on fire. That's very bad. And also, the plastic bags, like old grocery bags, plastic garbage bags, gum up the machine. those should not go into the recycle bin. So sometimes I think that people put their recyclables into a garbage bag and then throw that into the blue bin. It's better to just throw it directly into the blue bin. So we also are working on composting. Now, the town of Hamden has a permit to do composting at our transfer station, which is not something that a lot of other communities have. So we are starting to build out a composting plan. And so we're looking at putting some bins around town where people can bring their compostable materials, food scraps, and then have machinery at Public Works. We've already purchased one piece of machinery, a screener. And then we need to set up an aerated static pile. So you have to add brown, which is the leaves that we're collecting around town right now, to the green, which is the like kitchen scraps, and it's a 4-to-1 ratio, so a lot of leaves, and then you put it all together and it turns into beautiful dirt. So that is something that we're working on and trying to build out. The other piece that I want to add to that is that we just contracted with a textile recycling company that will put some bins around town, so that we can receive old clothing, old rags, shoes, textiles in general, leather, whatever it is, put it in the bin, and then we get money per ton. I think it's $120 per ton that the town gets for people recycling these materials.
The bins are not yet.
Not yet, we just contracted with them like a week ago.
How will we know where they are?
They're gonna be located, I'm sorry to interrupt, they'll be at each library, so at the branches as well as here at Miller. And then I think that there's another location that they will be, that we will have them at the library.
Yeah.
Thank you, Melissa.
So we don't have it yet, but there's reason to put them at schools because the schools can receive the money if they have a container. So it's good stuff.
Okay, so someone is asking about the Three Kings event last year at the Keep Center. Will that be going on this year?
Yes. Don't have the date in front of me.
It is listed, I'm sure we can find it downstairs.
Yeah, yep. I don't know that everything's been settled on that yet. We are putting out a flyer that'll say Holidays in Hamden, and Three Kings is on there. It lists all the different holidays that we're celebrating, and it's just, the save the date card, kind of. But then there will also be a flyer that tells you all about what's going to be at Three Kings. We had this at Keith last year, and it would have made the fire marshal mad. There were so many people that came out for this. We had tables and chairs there as well because it was catered by La Isla, and it was delicious and fun and lots of music and dancing, and it was really amazing to be part of that. So we are going to actually do it at Thornton this year because we needed to plan for a larger space.
Before you get too far from the landfill, the mattress recycling deconstruction.
Maybe Joey can go talk to you. Joe Colello, Public Works Director, in back.
So another question for you is, where can kids 13 and up volunteer? And is there a list that they can?
I'm sorry, Ryan, we couldn't quite hear the question back there.
Where can kids 13 and up volunteer?
Gosh, that's a good question. So there are obviously a lot of church organizations, and I know that Girl Scouts have projects that they work on where they can get involved on a different volunteer project. I'll have to think about that. And I think it'd be kind of cool to get some feedback from Girl Scouts about, because I'm assuming that's what's going on. I think it would be good to get some feedback about what kind of, work you'd like to do to help, help the town. And, you know, obviously, like I was talking about some of the community events we have. It's always good to have people, help us maybe serve food, or, you know, we hand out toys at the Peak Community Center, we hand out food at the Peak Community Center. We'd love to have volunteers help out with some of those things. And so, if you email me, I'd be more than happy to connect you with some of those, opportunities.
The town's Youth Services Bureau has, volunteering for the teens, the town's Youth Services Bureau. So you can contact Sue Rubino at the town's Youth Services Bureau for your volunteer opportunities. They have a whole host of things you guys can do over there.
And you also have the town, like I mentioned before. We need all the help we can get.
So, this person had a couple of questions, and we addressed a lot of it earlier, but the last thing they mentioned is their concerns about, attention being paid to Southampton. So if you could maybe talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
Guess we're not
I'm
reading the
definitely
questions.
paying attention to Southampton. We have a lot of, the traffic calming work that's going on, more, sidewalk connectivity grants that are being implemented. They're under design right now. We are, doing work in the New Home neighborhood around, evaluating foundations and then fixing foundations. We are demolishing the old middle school building, that is a huge blight. And building a youth center, to make sure that we are, bringing community to Southern Hamden. When I mentioned that we have to move our Three Kings celebration to Thornton, it's not ideal. We don't want to have to make people travel, it was very successful at Keep, but it was too small a space. We need bigger spaces. We need the ability to hold meetings in Southern Hamden. And right now, our, Keep Community Center, has been filled with food. Will soon be filled with toys. And then we'll be, hosting our warming center is unavailable to use. So our meeting space in Southern Hamden is unavailable during the winter time. Our, you know, building out places where we can bring community together, is important, and we're doing that in Southern Hamden.
May I just add that we have the Brundage Library
Yep.
on Circular Avenue, the Brundage Library. And we have meeting space there, and it's available to the community to use. We are open one evening a week at the Brundage Library, that's Wednesday evening. The branch manager's name is Dave Scanlon. That's D. Scanlon, SCANLON, at hamdenlibrary.org. That is a space that's also available to be used by the community.
It's in the basement though?
We can use both basement upstairs.
Okay.
Our middle name at the public library is flexibility.
Okay.
It seems like there's a lack
The
of
space
space.
in the basement is rather large. I think, according to the fire marshal, we can fit about 50 people down there. We just had a turtle program down there that had about 10 turtles and about 50 people, maybe even more, than the fire marshal. And upstairs in the flexible space that we have, we can fit about 25 people.
It seems like there's a lack of space in Hamden to hold things. So in my thought, I'm just thinking, you said that some things had to be moved because the Keep Center is not large enough, it's not being used. You can't do things there in the wintertime, I get it. It would seem to me that there's a large enough space available in Hamden for community type things. Specifically, if the Keep Community Center, the actual building, was not used for social services, and that whole Keep Center, what's happening in there, when it was moved somewhere else, that could be your community center that you want to build, or you could logistically use LA Fitness.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have a gas leak in the building, Down on the first floor, so if you can keep it, please.
We're trying to go here in the fucking somewhere.
Right. And that actually apparently